Welcome to Vermonters in Business, where we highlight some of the very best business leaders in our state and the amazing things they're doing in their communities. People of Vermont, welcome to Vermonters in Business, where our mission is to highlight the businesses and business leaders in our state that are doing amazing work in both of their careers and in their communities. I am your co-host, Drew Kinney. I am a seventh-generation Vermonter, a business leader in the state, and I am very excited for our show today. But first, please join me in welcoming my co-host, Travis Spencer. He is a serial entrepreneur, a local business enthusiast, and around here, we know him as a world-class insurance agent. Travis, what have you got for me today?
Oh, Drew, I got a good one today. I got a great take today, and we have a great guest, and we got to talk about pickles.
Yep.
And so I was thinking, cucumbers have to be the only vegetable that people don't like in its natural state, but like pickled. I hate cucumbers, but I love pickles.
Really?
But if you like beets, you probably like pickled beets and regular beets, okra, green beans. But I think there's probably a lot of people out there who hate cucumbers, but love pickles. So it's the only pickled vegetable that people like pickled and not in its normal state. So
I'm going to use a deep pull reference because you brought that up, Travis. But when I was growing up, going through college, that was like the Chappelle Show prime. And he had an episode, and I forget exactly what it was around, but there's a line that he drops where some people say the cucumber tastes better pickled. And that has been stuck in my brain for forever. So some people say the cucumber tastes better pickled.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. That is awesome. All right, Travis. Well, join us today is Angela from the Tipsy Pickle. Angela, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So this is not your first podcast, so you have a little bit of experience with it before. But how are we feeling? Are you feeling nervous? You feeling ready to go?
I feel fine,
Yeah, good. I have to say, leading into this, you have probably one of the epic names in Vermont businesses.
Oh, thank you.
mean, the Tipsy Pickle. Come on, that's incredible.
Thank you.
So I know you're originally from Vermont. Is your entire family from Vermont, or how does that
My family's originally from
Yeah,
Vermont.
where'd you guys grow up in?
Winooski,
not too far away.
Yeah, not too far away, just down the road.
And so currently live in Essex Junction.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I grew up, so I'm very familiar with that area. And what led you, before we dive into our hot seat, what led you into kind of starting the Tipsy Pickle?
I grew a garden, so my grandparents were farmers, and they did a lot of canning growing up, and then my mom did the same thing, and then my first year when I was married, we had a garden and we grew too many vegetables, so I just started pickling from there because I knew what to do.
That's incredible.
And then I just started playing around with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, now that that's out of the way, we are going to dive into the Vermont hot seat. This is what we do with every episode. We take our guests and we put them in the Vermonter hot seat questions. And it's just designed to give people a little bit of an idea as who you are as a Vermonter. Angela, are you ready for the Vermonter hot seat?
I'm ready.
All right. Pancakes or waffles, what are you having with your Vermont maple syrup?
Oh, pancakes. For
All
sure.
right,
Yeah,
I love
100%.
it. Yes, nice. And a perfect day for you, is it a winter day at the mountain or a summer day at the lake?
It's actually a fall day.
Fall
I
day.
like the
Yes.
in between. Yeah, I like the feel of fall.
Harvest season, maybe? I don't know.
Harvest season. It's a good season.
All right, and it is your birthday dinner. You can go anywhere in the state. Where are you headed?
Ooh, that's a good one. So my new favorite restaurant is Bramble out in Essex Junction,
Yep.
and Dock Ponds is also a good spot out in Stowe.
Up in Stowe.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been to Bramble. That is a good spot.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been a little bit. I need to get back there, but it was excellent.
The
when we went.
cocktails are really good.
Yep. All right, and then it's a hot summer day. What is your creamy order and from where?
Oh, geez. Well, so growing up, we always went to L's French Fries before there was
Yep.
creamies
Mhm.
all over the place.
Yep.
So that's the tried and true.
Yep.
And it really doesn't matter what the flavor is. I'm down for
it
whatever.
matters.
maybe
To some people.
Maybe a twist, a chocolate.
A
vanilla.
twist, a classic.
But,
Classic.
but what Rainbow Jimmy's?
There you go.
Yes.
Need the sprinkles.
I love the sprinkles.
Incredible. Well, that is the Vermonter hot seat. You survived.
Thank you.
Hopefully it wasn't too
I
challenging.
know, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, all right, good. We need to put some harder hitters in there.
That's right.
All right, Travis, you're up. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about some of the business of Tipsy Pickle and the cool
Sure.
things they're doing.
So you grew up with a garden. You started a garden.
Yes.
Where did the origin of the Tipsy Pickle come from?
I was just bored one day, and so we grew up. My mom always let us be adventurous in the kitchen, like my sister and I. So we were allowed to like make candies and all the stuff. So it's always been like, what can I do with this? And my sister and I actually both went to culinary school. Okay. Our whole family is a cooking family.
Really?
Yeah. And so one day we just had switchback, and I was like, I wonder what would happen if I threw a little switchback in these pickles. And I gave it to my friends, and they loved it. And then it was my hobby that just kind of turned into what it is now. Yeah.
I was going to ask if that was the progression, because you hear that a lot with people who open a brewery or something. It's like, oh, I was a home brewer, and all my friends are like, oh, this is really good. You should.
Yeah.
So is that kind of the response you got? You started.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And so tell us about the process. You said you had switchback. What's the process of getting, the alcohol in there and the cooking process?
So now working with like distillers. Before I just kind of played around, and then I like gave them to the brewers, being like, "Hey, do you like this or not?" But so now there's a whole process behind it. So I'm making a new pickle with Cold Hollow cider and Arrowhead Lodge cidery out in Milton. So when I'm doing a new recipe, they'll give me the product that they want me to use to make. And so then it's kind of trying to bring out those flavors. So I'll make a bunch of different styles and play around with spices to kind of get to what they might like without losing the flavor of the product. Because there's the all alcohol content gets cooked out during the brining process.
Sure.
But they retain some of the flavoring. So part of retaining that flavoring is finding the spices that can help bring out like a hop flavor or an apple like flavor or something that complements that flavor. So now, like, what did I just do at Arrowhead Lodge is I just made a bunch and I gave it to them. So they're trying them.
Okay.
And then they're going to let me know what they like. And then and if there's one that they like but they're not in love with, then I'll play around with it a little bit more and see what I can do to adjust. And then from there, then we have a new pickle on the market.
So is there a lot of trial and error then? I'm assuming... the volume of beer or whatever spirit you're using, the strength, and so there's a lot of sampling at home.
A lot of sampling. Yeah, and it's at first it was a hobby, so it didn't really matter.
Right. Yeah.
But then as it became a business, then it really mattered. So then I had to start getting the alcohol content tested.
Yeah.
And then learning, okay, so if it's, like a whiskey, like I have to boil it for this long, or I can only use X amount. Or if it's like a beer, depending on what type of beer it is, then maybe I can use like X amount. So then it's how many spices then, because there's less of this than there's of this.
A lot of note taking.
Oh, a lot of note. Yeah, I have like this handwritten notebook. It's a hot mess, but only I can understand it. But yeah, it's a ton of trial and error. But.
So in the beginning phases, when you were approaching the distilleries and the brewers, was it a warm reception where people kind of stand off?
Well, I lucked out because so I started this as a hobby back in like 2014. So Vermont's brewing, distillery, and cidering scene just kind of was at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So Switchback and Magic Hat and Switchback were really like the big ones.
Right.
Alchemist was happening, but Alchemist was like bottling
So
in
small.
Waterbury.
Yes.
Yeah, so small.
Yep.
And nobody really traveled out to Waterbury because they were like, hey, it's Waterbury. So it was it just happened to be a great time for me to start reaching out to all these brewers and distillers and building these relationships. And then, they grew as I was growing. And a lot of times now, too, people will reach out to me being like, hey, we would love for you to make a pickle with this product. And I'm like, let's do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it is cool, too, because I have personal relationships with a lot of the, business relationships, but I've known them so long at this point that it's, first name basis, or I know their staff, they like see me coming and they know me. So it's a real like humbling experience, and they believe in my business just as much as, I believe in theirs. So it's
and they sell it in the tap room. I'm assuming there's a lot of breweries
do.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of places do. Some don't because they do their own like in-house. They have their own restaurants and they do their own pickles in-house, but. They do, support my business in other means, or they let people know about it. And yeah, it's I don't know. Working in Vermont and working for other Vermont businesses is so rewarding. It's such a unique thing about Vermont is that we're all in it together, and no one has anything bad to say about.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we started doing this. And the people we've interviewed, it's one of the consistent things you hear is just how there's no animosity really.
There's no animosity. We are all trying to. I mean, gosh, it's so hard for businesses to survive in this world where people don't understand the difference between, buying stuff in a middle row in a grocery store as to getting stuff from a farm,
right,
locally sourcing ingredients, like all the work that so many people put in.
Yeah.
Like so many people put work into those cucumbers and,
Yeah.
and the beer and the vinegar and the spices that go into it. It's not just me. I just make the final product. But
Yep.
there's a lot of people in between working really hard.
Well, and that leads to my next question. Where I know you try to source as much locally as you can. Where are you sourcing your
Well, so
ingredients
unfortunately,
from?
our local growing season just ended.
Right.
It's a sad month for me. But my cucumbers mainly come from Sam Mazza's, Paul Mazza's, Sweet Roots Market out in Shelburne, and Gilmet Farm out in Shelburne as well. Yeah,
Very
and
nice.
I just get my hands on as many as I
Really?
can possibly make. As I just from growing season to the end of growing season, it's just like full blown, every day,
Right.
making pickles.
Hammering. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just
crazy.
hammering, and
Yeah.
I just go as far as I can. And
Is it just
until I
you, or
can.
do you have a team?
So I don't have a team. I do have my mom. My mom's retired.
Yeah.
And apparently
You
her
bring in
dream.
the big guns. I get it. Yeah.
Apparently her retirement dream was to work for free for one of her kids. So she comes in and helps me out quite a bit.
That's awesome. So, like on a busy day, I'm sorry if I'm stealing your
No,
questions,
no.
Travis, but on a busy day, like how many jars of pickles are you making?
Oh, on a busy day, probably around like 240 jars.
That's
It's like
incredible.
20
Wow.
cases in a day.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to ask that in regards to as your business has grown. This is one thing we always ask, like brewers. It's like it's one thing to make home brew in a smaller scale. As your business has scaled up over the years, do you make larger batches, or you just make more of the same size batches?
It really depends. It depends on what orders I have coming in. But really, it's just making larger amounts of smaller batches because it's
Right.
still just me and
Yeah.
my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to grow organically, so I don't have investors and I'm not taking loans out on my business. I just,
yeah.
I like being able to assure the quality of the product.
Right.
And nor do, the economy. So, you gotta,
Yeah.
it's just like, I know I don't want to lose any of what I think makes my business so special, but at some point it'll get a little bit bigger and I'll have employees, and that was actually a goal for this year, but then you're a small business, you never know what's going
Right.
to happen. It's like,
Right.
oh, trademark law. Now I need a trademark attorney.
Yeah.
Like there goes that capital. There's always something.
When you're making a large batch,
Excuse me.
is it you just like I'm thinking back to like used to homebrew back in the day, and we used to have like a 15-gallon pot that we would use.
Oh, yeah. It's
How
just
big
like-
are you using?
It's like a 30-gallon pot.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
with the
Okay.
brine. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so like for sweet pickles, there's a lot of sugar
Yep.
and then a lot of
Yeah.
vinegar. So it's like how much can my arm stir at once, like
Right.
trying to get it to dissolve.
Yeah.
Like the sour vinegar is very basic because it's just water and vinegar.
Yeah.
So like that's easy.
Yeah.
But the sweet vinegar is a little more tricky.
It's fascinating.
In regards to shelf life, obviously there's a short growing season in Vermont, so you try to make as much as you
Yeah.
can with that.
Yep.
How long do the pickles last?
So when I first started, the rule was everything had to get dated out a year from the date
Okay.
it's made. So it had a year-long shelf life. But the FDA, I guess, recently changed some rules. So now I don't have to put it. I do because I bought a bunch of labels that have the expiration date on them.
Yeah.
But when those filter through, it's just I need to put a made on date by it because,
Okay.
like if you look at a jar of like Clausen's or Mount Philo or Vlasics or something like that, they don't have expiration dates. It's a made on date, and then we record the batch number, so I know when it's made.
Yeah.
So I can always look back and check that record. But I think they give them up to 2 to 3 years
Okay.
for shelf life. And if they ever go bad, it's they get very cloudy
Oh, really?
because the lactose fermenting
Yeah.
process will start. So if you ever have a jar that you see it that's cloudy and it's not like it's not supposed to be a fermented pickle, don't eat it.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Let it go.
Good to know.
Let that one go.
So other than some of the breweries that you work with, where can you find the pickles? What retail outlets are you in? And
So I'm all over the place here in Vermont. A lot of co-ops like the Middlebury Co-op, City Market, Healthy Living, a lot of specialty stores like Cold Hollow Cider, and then a lot of the breweries and distilleries like Stowe Cider, Four Quarters Brewing, Smuggler's Notch is a big one, and they're all over the place. And then I also sell out of state. I do have a partnership with Boston Harbor Distillery.
Cool.
So they're the one business out of Vermont that I make pickles with. So they carry them at their brewery. And then there's like Dorothy Lane Market out in Ohio, the farmhouse in California.
Wow.
I just Martha Vineyards, the Gray Barn. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm like all over
Nice.
getting all over the place. And here in New England, I should say, a little out on the East Coast.
Is there plan to grow more outside of the state from
Grow
a retail?
more, yeah, I would like to. I mean, I have, of course, any small business in manufacturing food. Like our dreams always like one day we're going to be like Cabot or Ben and Jerry's.
Right.
But it's a very slow process. Like for me, anyways, just because I don't have $1 million to invest in a warehouse to then equipped and get the staff and pay for all the insurances and all that fun jazz. But, so one day.
What are some of the challenges you've had during the growth phase? I mean, is it just capital? I mean, is that the next an influx of capital gets you to that next level?
Yeah, capital is always a challenge, just for unforeseen cost. I mean, with COVID, there was an insane amount of price gouging that then happened on the global market, which affected everybody.
Right.
And then, so like ingredients and stuff, it just went through the roof, and gas went through the roof, and that, so deliveries are more expensive for getting cucumbers, and then weather, like all the flooding that our state had really affected a lot of the farmers that I work with, and a lot of the businesses I work with. So that took a hit on everyone.
I remember during COVID, jars, because Joy was making candles, jar prices went through the roof, or you couldn't find them.
Vinegar.
Did you have an issue with that as well?
Oh, I did, yeah. Luckily, I work with Dominion and Grimm. I get all my jars from them. They're in St. Albans, Vermont. They mainly do like sugaring products, but they get jars too.
Yeah.
So luckily, they're local, and they're made in Montreal, so it's not like too far away. But then with the border closed, it was very challenging. Vinegar was the hardest thing to find which was great because everybody started learn the importance of being able to make and preserve your own food.
Yeah.
So that was awesome, but it wasn't awesome also because I was like, why does Costco not have vinegar? I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people that buy vinegar here. Like, where did it all go?
And the quantities too.
And the quantities
you're getting,
Oh yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot of missed jars that I normally wouldn't use, and it was a challenge, but we all made it through, so that's good. And one of the bigger challenges with growth is finding space. Like there's no Vermont, Chittenden County. I know it's not the whole state, but finding commercial space that a business can lease, specifically in the food industry, that can be approved by the health department and by the FDA it's so hard to find.
Yeah.
So hard to find. There's so many businesses that need a commercial kitchen and affordable.
Right.
Because it's so expensive to outfit and to make it happen.
And you're renting commercial kitchen space now, you were saying?
I'm working, out on Catamount Drive out in Milton.
And do you store everything out there as well as far as made product?
So it's not I suppose if there was space I could rent more space to store everything, but I don't. One of the nice things about the pickling part is that I just need the kitchen to make the pickles.
Yep.
So once they're made, they're sealed in the jars.
Right. Yeah.
Like nothing's going to happen to them. So it's also it'd save a lot of time if I could do everything in one spot, but I can't right now. So then I bring all the jars home, and then that's when I wash the jars and shrink wrap them and do all the labeling. But then it's also nice because then I'm home. So it's kind of like, if people that can work from home, it's just a whole different atmosphere. Like it's not so stressful because I'm home.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm at least home, and with a child, I'm not losing time because she's doing whatever she wants to do, but I'm still there. I'm not forcing her into the kitchen where she could still use her Kindle, but it's not as fun. So,
what is are there some favorites or best sellers? What are some of your top sellers?
My top sellers are the maple bourbon whiskeys made by Smuggler's Notch Distillery. They're a really unique, sweet and spicy pickle.
Cool.
For sours, another big seller. So we get a lot, Vermont's a tourist state too. So the Hetty, I make a Hetty topper pickle.
Yeah.
So those are a huge seller. Sip of Sunshines. The double garlic lush with Frost Beerworks is a huge one too.
Nice.
If you like garlic. But yeah, they all sell pretty well.
Okay.
Like Vermont, the breweries and distilleries I work with, they all have very good names. They're very recognizable.
Yep.
And so it's just lucky for me. People see them, they're like, oh, I like that beer. I like that. And
I know
so,
one of the ladies in our office is a big fan of the gin ones.
Oh,
so,
yeah, the 802 gin. Yeah, they're a good one.
Yeah.
So we made those. So those are like a mild sour pickle, but they were designed so that way you can make martinis with the brine as well and use the pickle as the garnish.
That's cool.
Yep.
Nice.
So, if you like martinis, they go great with them.
So a decent part of our audience is other Vermont local businesses or people that are getting started. So, from when you sort of started the business and to kind of where you're at now, if you could think back, was there anything that you would do differently or go about differently?
Definitely get the trademark out of the way as soon as possible. That's a hard lesson learned.
Yeah.
No, I think the best thing when going is just, I'm lucky because I ask all the people that I collaborate with, I ask them questions all the time. I ask all the small businesses that I sell to, I'm always asking them questions, and I think that's the key to growth is just ask the people that have been doing it a little bit longer, because they're more than happy to
find some mentors.
Mentors and just help guide you, because there's so many little things that I didn't know that when I started that one day I would have to have shrink wrap on the label, or I needed heat seal jars. Like I originally used the ball canning jars, what I grew up with. Can't use that for consumer. You just can't. And I didn't know I would have to test pH levels or really it's like learning. Like I did it all the time, but I didn't fully have an understanding of that. And it's a lot to learn as you go.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
excuse me.
Are there good resources? Does the state do a good job of consolidating everything you need to know as a food producer? or is it a lot of piecemeal stuff that you're
it's all piecemeal. No offense to the state. But I mean, they have things in place, tools to help, but it's more of tools to help you figure out the financial situation. Right. But also, when you're growing, you don't have a lot of time to just sit there and learn spreadsheets if you don't know. A lot of people don't understand Excel, or so it's learning this new product, but then you also have to fulfill orders. So it's like, what can you do in a day?
Right.
And the bottom line is you need to get your product made and get it out and fill orders. So a lot of that, it's great that they have it there, but it's, you
gotta find it.
You gotta find it. You gotta find it, and you gotta make the time to utilize it and stay on top of it too. My poor tax guy. God bless him.
Well, one other question I have is, we met you, my wife and I, when you were doing vendor fairs. We were at a vendor fair, and before we got on the cameras, we were talking about how you've slowly stepped away from that, and now you're doing more wholesale. I'm assuming that's so much easier for you. It makes life easier than doing all those events. It does.
It makes life easier. Events are just exhausting. I like doing them. So when I first started, events were great because then I could have all my samples out and I could get feedback from the public. Like they would try it and they would tell me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's how I would kind of learn, because I didn't necessarily get so much feedback from anybody else other than my friends and family who are always like, oh, it's great. And I'm like, you don't count.
Yeah.
Because it could be garbage.
You're always going to say it's great.
Yeah, and you're going to tell me it's great. So I was able to adjust a lot of my recipes and kind of see what people really lean to make a better product. I don't do samples anymore at events. I learned some stuff from COVID, and it really doesn't matter. Like people use their hands and people cough on stuff, and during the summer with the bees love vinegar, and I'm not going to be responsible for the one person that needed an EpiPen that didn't have it that day. I'm not doing it. And it's so events are great for that. I love meeting the people that buy my product, and I love their enthusiasm and hearing the feedback. And I love being able to talk about it. I mean, I do it every day.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a lot of work. It's very exhausting. And it's a great way for marketing if you're a new business and networking. I made so many business associates doing that, and I still talk to them, and I love seeing them. So it's fun. But when I have to do it, like I need a new roof on my house, and then it's like, okay, I got to do this, but I also got to make these orders. But like this weekend, I'm going to a pickle festival in Winchester, and I love that pickle festival in Winchester. But like filling orders and then also being like, I need to make at least 2 of every single pickle product I make for this. It's very daunting.
Yeah.
And to make sure that they have time to brine and to get it, and then to load and unload. And,
Right.
Yeah.
And then
It's
you're
a lot of
talking
work.
and it's like,
Yeah, you're exhausted
you
at the end
get
of the
a
day.
good night's sleep after for sure. But you meet so many amazing people. Yeah.
Anything we
priceless.
missed that you want to add, or
No, I don't think so.
Awesome.
anything on your list?
No, I think we did pretty good. We covered a lot of ground.
I
Go
do
ahead.
have to say that not all cucumbers are pickling cucumbers.
That is true.
From your
That is
comment
true.
in the beginning.
That is true.
Well, it's funny because
It's a very different.
I
different.
I did my first garden this year, and we planted pickling cucumbers on purpose.
Nice.
And my wife has been pickling,
Awesome.
making pickles.
Oh, awesome.
So I understand that passion, and
Yeah.
I'm now at that age where I go outside and I look at my garden, and I was just like,
Yeah.
God,
I know, but then there's like 2, and you need like 4
Yeah.
for a jar, and you're like, why?
Well, that was the first because my wife was making the simple, smaller batches where you didn't have to boil them and do the whole.
Oh
candy
yeah, like
flash them.
refrigerating.
refrigerated ones that you
Yeah.
have to eat within like a couple months. And so, but then we were starting to accumulate more and more. And she's like, oh, I think we might have enough now. And you need something like 8 pounds.
Yeah.
And we had a whole drawer full. And she puts them on the scale. She's like, this is only 4 pounds. I'm like, it looks like it's so much more.
Yeah, because they're so tiny.
And they're mostly water.
Yeah, mostly water. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Well, Angela, where can people find Tipsy Pickle or find you, find more information?
So I have a website, thetipsypickle.com, which needs to get updated, but it lists some of the places where you can buy my pickles.
Awesome.
Also, if you just like Google the Tipsy Pickle, a lot of the businesses that sell them.
And on Instagram. You have an Instagram page.
Instagram page is a good one. Locally close to here, the Beverage Warehouse down the road has like the largest variety of my pickles
Wow.
because they're not a brewery or distillery I
Right.
work with, so they have
Sure.
like the largest like variety of flavors. And then up the road a bit, Sam Maz's, where they have some of my pickles on that are made with their cucumbers that they grow
Awesome.
right now. So
Fantastic.
yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Cool. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah,
It's super
thanks.
interesting product, and we appreciate you coming on the
Yeah,
show.
thank
And as we close every show, if anybody out there knows any guests that we should have on the show, we'd love to have them. Send their names our way. And this has been another episode of Vermonters in Business.